This is the Standard Podcast, the eye-opening experience for your ears.
สวัสดีครับผมบิ๊กบุญและคุณกำลังฟังคำนี้ดีพอดแคสต์สะสมศัพท์กันวันละนิดภาษาอังกฤษแข็งแรงคุณผู้ฟังครับน้องจีครับด้วยนะครับน้องจีอยู่ที่นี่มีอยู่อย่างหนึ่งซึ่งเราไม่ค่อยได้พูดถึงในรายการของเราเนาะนั่นก็คือเรื่องของการเรียนการสอนภาษาอังกฤษแบบในห้องเรียนเพราะว่า the obvious reason being we are not teachers เรา disclaimer เรื่องนี้ตลอดเวลานะครับเราแค่เป็นคนที่แบบสนุกแล้วก็ชอบภาษาอังกฤษแล้วก็เลยมาชวนคุณผู้ฟังใช้ภาษาอังกฤษกันประมาณนั้นแต่ว่าเรื่องของการเรียนการสอนมันก็ยังเป็นสิ่งสำคัญอยู่เนาะเพราะว่าเราก็ยังเป็นนักเรียนกันอยู่หมายถึงว่าคุณผู้ฟังจำนวนมากนะครับเราก็เลี่ยงไม่ได้ที่เราจะต้องโอเคการแบบไปหาความรู้นอกห้องเรียนก็จำเป็นแต่ว่าในห้องเรียนเราก็ไม่อยากจะแบบได้ D doc ไม่อยากได้ F not even a C เนี่ยแล้วเราจะทำยังไงนะครับวันนี้เราก็เลยได้โอกาสที่ดีนะครับในการคุยกับคนที่เป็นครูจริงๆนะฮะครูคนนี้ไม่ใช่ใครที่ไหนเลยเรารู้จักกันดีอยู่แล้วเพราะว่าเคยมาปรากฏเสียงในรายการของเราหลายครั้งแล้วรวมถึง English at Work Podcast ของเราด้วยนะครับก็จะได้ยินเสียงของคุณครูท่านนี้เรื่อยๆเลยนะครับวันนี้ Welcome to the show ครูคิดครับ
Thank you very much
สวัสดีครับ
สวัสดีค่ะ
So how are you doing?
Yeah, great.
All right. So today we're going to be talking about obviously studying English and well actually we can talk a little bit about teaching English also because we have no experience on that part and we really want to know if teaching English nowadays is it hard, is it easier, how interesting it is. So we get to talk about that also. But first of all, can we go back to like the very beginning? I just want to know if teaching English like professionally is one of your like dream jobs or is it by accident? How did you get into the business of teaching English?
Okay. I think just to clarify for the audience first, I mean, I teach English as a foreign language rather than teaching English as a subject.
Oh.
So just to make that clear, just in case some people might get confused. So teaching English as a foreign language is slightly different. So you wouldn't study things like literature and, those that are associated with studying English as a subject, for example. Okay, so I would say it was definitely by accident. Well, was it really by accident? I think it wasn't. It was something I probably didn't intend to get into. So,
and what did you intend to get into as a career?
I had many dreams. One was to be an architect, maybe. I went through a phase where I thought, maybe I could make a difference, be a lawyer or something. But that fell by the side. And at one point, I thought I just wanted to be someone who worked in a company that could use languages, and I could maybe go and work in different countries. I think that was something that allowed me to have freedom. So English or teaching English definitely wasn't at the top of my list for sure. So how did I get into it? And well, I was living in England at the time, and there came a point in my life where I just finished what I was doing with my family at the time, and I had a choice to make. And the choice was I actually wanted to go and live in Europe. And so I thought, well, okay, so how could I go there and maybe earn a living as well and then maybe kind of explore the culture? So I thought maybe I should be an English teacher. And then somebody said to me, why don't you come to Thailand? And I said, well, I don't know. I didn't really think about that. I just, I didn't have any plans or... but anyway, so I came. But before I came, just as a backup, what I did was I took this 4-week course, and it's a very common certificate that language teachers have to take. So it's called the CELTA, which is accredited by Cambridge, or there's the Oxford version, which is the Cert TESOL. They're basically the same. And what it is, it's a 4-week course which foreign language teachers have to train for, and that gives them the basics to be able to teach foreign languages, or in this case English. So when I came to Thailand, basically, I had this certificate as a backup without the intention of really wanting to teach English.
Oh, you took that test as a backup.
Yeah, I took the course. It was a course. Yeah, it was a 4-week intensive course. You know, like full day for 4 weeks.
So you thought maybe at some point in the future you might be considering a teaching career?
I don't know if I really considered it. I think it was more just, like I said, it was more just as a fallback, just in case that I couldn't find anything else to do.
Did you have any plans before rolling into that intensive course?
It plans to do with teaching or
other than teaching.
Well, I definitely didn't want to teach. That was clear.
Okay.
So I thought maybe I could come here and maybe I might be able to get a job in a company or something, or do something. I really came unprepared, I think. And when I came, it was back in 2008, I think. And as soon as I arrived in Thailand, what happened was I think the yellow shirts were fighting with some other shirts, and they closed the airport down.
Yeah.
And I think it was, and I sent my CV or resume, as you call it, as well, off to some companies, but I didn't really get a reply. But I also sent my CV off to a language school, and they got in touch. So I think that's how it started, really. Yeah.
Wow, so that has been over 10 years, right?
Yeah, it was 2008. What's that, 13 years ago? Yeah.
So still having fun today?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'm still teaching. I mean, I think I think, to be honest, if I wasn't, or then I probably might have given up or changed careers. I think a lot of teachers who teach foreign languages, they do it because they want to travel around the world. I think that's one of their main reasons. So that's why you see a lot of them. And I think it's a career where people they don't stay in one place for too long. They move around quite a lot.
Yeah, so that's definitely a thing with the teaching English as a second language teachers, right?
Yes.
Well, so do you think this job is easy or it's hard? Do you have to adjust or adapt a lot in order to become a full-on teacher?
I don't think any job's easy, is it, really? I mean, yeah, I think it has its challenges. I mean, you're trying to help someone be better at speaking or understanding or using a language, and they're not proficient users like you. So obviously there are challenges, whether it's using the correct vocabulary, or using the correct grammar, or just So it's definitely
and you're also teaching at school also.
At the moment, yes, I'm teaching in a school, in a Thai school.
Is there any difference between teaching as a second language and teaching English classes at school? Do you teach a high school, right?
Yes, I teach in high school. So I still teach English as a foreign language in the high school. And actually, I think that's what we could also make clear, is that in Thai schools, the English that students learn, it is English as a foreign language. It's not English as a subject. That's maybe what you would study in an international school, for example, maybe like an English program. Right. But generally, the English that is taught in the schools is English as a foreign language. It's just called English. Maybe it might be called English for communication, or English reading and writing, but it's still teaching English as a foreign language.
Right.
So it's more of a grammar, pronunciation, conversation, stuff like that, right?
I think the school separates them. So I think normally what you see is the reading and the writing are taught together, or by one particular teacher, and the listening and speaking, which forms part of the communication, is taught by another teacher. That could perhaps be a foreign teacher, or
Okay. Yeah. So for the past 10 years, do you think the way school or teachers teach English has changed?
Yeah, I think so. I think I've had experience of training and working with Thai teachers who teach English, and I think the ministry have worked hard to try and develop the teachers' teaching skills. whether that new teaching approaches or techniques, they're trained, they're given that training. So yes, slowly, I think in a lot of schools, as long as the teacher can slowly apply that, then yes, there is a slight shift to using newer methods, also in conjunction with slightly older, maybe more traditional methods, for sure.
And what would be some of the newer methods or ways that would help teachers teach better in classes?
Okay, I think it depends on the skills, but I think in general, the approach that is very common. Teaching English as a foreign language world is called the communicative approach, which basically is where you try to get students to use the language to communicate with each other. So really using the language. I think obviously one of the problems when you're, for example, learning grammar a lot, you're learning a lot of rules, so you're not really getting as many opportunities to use it. So the communicative approach is something that focuses more on the student trying to be able to use the language more. And I think that applies to the other kind of skills as well. So just making the lessons a little bit more active for the learners, to help them enjoy it as well and perhaps develop that way.
So how are students learning or studying English these days? Because it's been so long since I was in any classes at all. So I had a very difficult time imagining.
I think that the students today or the new generation are very lucky. They've grown up with the internet basically, and what the internet offers them now, perhaps, and something perhaps in our generation we didn't have. Sorry,
I think that's about right.
Or maybe let's say our parents' generation. We didn't have. We didn't have the same resources as the students today have. Sure. They're watching YouTube pretty much 24/7 around the clock. So their exposure to English or worldwide English is is uncomparable to our times, or maybe our parents, for sure, our parents' times. So they have this great resource that they can use to really help develop or practice their English. So I would say they're luckier for sure.
Yeah. มันก็จะมีเรื่องของการพยายามเรียนภาษาอังกฤษแล้วเอาไปใช้จริงใช่ไหมแต่ว่ามันก็ยังต้องมีเรื่องของการเรียนภาษาอังกฤษเพื่อเอาไปใช้สอบเพราะว่า of course we still want to ace our exam, we want a good grades because we might want to use that in furthering our education abroad or even in the country. And also a lot of careers out there, they require your proficiency in English too. So you still need those grades or those scores, right? น้องจีเคยสอบมาแล้วหลายอย่างมากเลยไม่ว่าจะเป็น
Well, I took SAT, TOEFL, and TOEIC. Just the recent one.
IELTS too, right?
Well, I did a mock test for IELTS.
Oh, I see.
I've never really been a fan of the British side kind of. I mean, I feel like it's more difficult for me. It's IELTS and what else? The IGCSE. I feel like it's really, really difficult for me.
แต่น้องจีเคยแชร์อย่างหนึ่งที่แบบฟังแล้วผมงงไปเลยคือน้องจีเป็นคนชอบสอบ
Yeah, I love taking tests.
How did that happen?
I mean, it's the adrenaline rush when you have limited time, that you have to pick all the multiple choices. You have to scribble down everything that comes to your mind, right? For the reading, for the writing part, right? Yeah.
So to you, I think it kind of was like a game.
Yeah. I'm like a nerd. I'm sorry. Yeah.
So maybe we can talk a little bit more about how to do better at your exam, how to prepare yourself from teacher's point of view and from น้องจี 's point of view too. ในฐานะคนที่แบบเป็นเนิร์ดการสอบคนหนึ่งนะครับ Okay, so how do you think our listeners can improve their scores or grades?
Oh, would it not be nice to start with Nong Ji?
Yeah,
Maybe
sure.
she could tell us from a test or exam taker perspective first, and
Yeah.
then maybe we could compare that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because
we can do
she's
that.
going to be able to relate better to
okay.
all those multiple choice scribblers under stress.
Okay. Oh, let's ask about like let's talk about like the writing part.
Okay.
Okay, on an exam, there are usually like a topic for you.
Right.
And then how could we ace writing exams? Because there's no like exact answers, right? For multiple choice, you can like randomly pick a A, B, C,
Is
or
that
D.
what you do like you ace like the least?
Well,
You grade the
yeah,
least?
kinda. Because when for the writing part, it's usually like the later part of the exam. I don't know why it's always like at the end of the exam, but like we always have to write.
คิดว่าน่าจะเป็นพาร์ทที่คนกลัวที่สุดอะ
ใช่ใช่
การ
ใช่
เขียน
So for me, well, for any writing exams that I took, I usually do this tip. It's called like what is it called? Well, you basically choose your own topic and you have a answer in mind. You write the thesis statement, kind of เหมือนเป็นแบบประโยคที่สามารถจะจับใจความได้ทั้งคำตอบได้ก่อน and like what I do is that I try to separate it into 3 points, and for each point I write the examples. I provide the examples and then link them all together, and I feel like it's such a good tip that like everybody needs in a writing test, no matter like for any topic that you write on, you can just use that tip, and I feel like it can boost your grade kind of.
เหมือนกับแบ่งเป็นข้อๆใช่ไหม
ใช่
นั่นคือ
ใช่
นั่นคือเทคนิคอย่างหนึ่งนะครับแล้วก็แต่ละข้อหาอะไรมาซัพพอร์ตมันแล้วลิงก์ทุกอย่างเข้าด้วยกัน
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying
Yes.
basically So what do you think about this technique? Is that like typical technique that everybody uses?
Well, it's a common it's the common structure for writing. I think that's the difference when you're writing in another language. Okay, so because we're talking about English, so it sounds like we're writing a kind of answering an essay question, maybe in your case. Yeah, you have to start with sometimes it's called a topic sentence at the beginning, and then you support it with your supporting statements or facts, whatever. So there's this structure first that you have to learn. So that's the basic part. You need that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't have that, your writing doesn't really link together. It might jump from one thing to the other. But the other thing is also like when you've got an open question, like you said, the difficulty is it depends on the writer as well. I mean, sometimes students sometimes they don't have as much life experience, so it's very difficult for them to kind of generate ideas. So they've got to practice that a little bit. They've got to be able to draw think about other things outside of the classroom that they can. And a lot of these exam questions, I sympathize. They're very difficult because they're not related to everyday life. They're just like you look at it and like, what?
It's out of
I don't even know what that means. And like who actually talks about that or wants to write about that?
Yeah.
So so it's I think it comes down to having a structure, obviously, but also like everything, you've got to practice it a bit, certainly. Yeah. You can maybe practice a bit more if you think you're not that good at writing or something. And then there's the language part that comes into it, which is the other challenge as well.
But what you've just mentioned is very interesting. In the point that a lot of students don't have like experiences, so they don't know how to relate what they've like encountered in life into the questions, and it's going to be so like flat and very bland. There's nothing outside of the classroom. It shows nothing of your real relevance to the question, and that doesn't look personal and maybe not interesting. I think, right?
Yeah, I also think like I think what really can help here is the structure that you talked about. So if you've got the structure to write a paragraph, for example, even though the ideas might not be that exciting or interesting, at least there's a flow there. So a lot of exams, they don't really worry too much about there's really no right or wrong answer. So you can really write what you want. But so it can be false. It can just be totally made up. But as long as it flows, like you've stated something, you're going to back it up with some examples. But if you don't back it up with any examples, then it's kind of it's hard for them to give you a high score, for example. These are exams.
Yeah. So I was wondering, what would be graded the most out of the writing part? Is it your the use of the language, or how well you present your points, or how well you can link this to your own experience? So how?
Okay. Well, shall we take the IELTS for example? I think that's very similar to TOEFL as well. So the writing part in the IELTS, there's if anyone's familiar with IELTS, then there's the highest score you can get is a band 9. So there's 4 criteria that examiners all use to mark a piece of writing in the IELTS exam. So first one is called task achievement, and then you've got the second one, which is coherence and cohesion, and then you've got number 3, which is grammatical accuracy, and the 4th is lexical resource. Not in that particular order, but those 4. So the first one is task achievement is basically, have you answered the question? So if the question has asked you to write about food and you've written about cars, then you're probably not going to get a high score in that particular
because you have failed the task.
Well, yeah, you haven't answered.
Off topic.
Yeah, it's off topic slightly. The second one, which comes back to what Long Ji mentioned earlier, the cohesion, is does your writing flow? So does it link? Does it make sense? So when somebody reads this, or not necessarily an English speaker, but when somebody reads this in English, is there an introduction, for example? If you're stating something, are you giving examples to back it up? And generally, if it's an essay question, have you written a conclusion? Okay, so that's
so it can't be confusing.
Yeah.
Right?
So basically, if it doesn't link, you're jumping from one thing to another, then you know that, okay, so this piece of writing, but basically, if you think of it, it's not smooth, basically. Yes.
Yeah. Understandable.
Okay.
And number 3?
Number 3, so the grammar, which is fairly clear. So if you're asked to write a story, so in English we know we have to use the past tense, changing the verbs. But if you don't use the past tense, then obviously you haven't met the requirements for that particular criteria. Yeah, so using grammar.
I see.
The correct grammatical tenses, or And then the last one is lexical resource, which basically is vocabulary. So what kind of vocabulary do you use? Do you use basic vocabulary? Do you repeat the words a lot? Okay, or do you use a range of vocabulary? Yes. So if you use a range of vocabulary, then you're going to obviously score higher, because that shows the person or the examiner, the marker, that you've got a lot of language in you. Yes.
Right. ไม่ว่าจะเป็นการสอบอะไรมันก็น่าจะมี4อย่างนี้ที่เป็นคล้ายๆกับเป็นแบบว่า the universal criteria for the writing part, right?
Most of them, especially the standard tests, like the IELTS or TOEFL, they'll have these criteria that they follow. Yes, because it has to be of a certain standard. You don't want. I wouldn't want to give you a high grade and get Long Ji a low grade and just go by how I feel on the day because I like you and I don't like her. Or whatever.
Yeah. Okay. And would those also apply to the speaking test?
For IELTS, definitely yes. We have. Again, 4 speaking criteria. We have in no particular order. So we have vocabulary, so lexical range. We have grammar, obviously. Speaking has pronunciation. So yes. And the other one is fluency and coherence, which is basically again, it's how smooth you speak. If we want to, just speak in simple terms. So basically, do you, for example, do you pause a lot? So if you're speaking and then do you go, do you take like 10 seconds to think about what to say next? So that might affect your fluency score. And the other ones are self-explanatory. So grammar, are you using the correct tenses? Vocabulary, again, like the writing. Do you have a range of vocabulary, or are you just using basic words? Can you say do you know that a car could also be called an automobile, or do you just always say car, 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 car? And then pronunciation, which is also a big one. So, as you know, in English, are you pronouncing the correct sounds, the correct syllables? Yeah, things like that.
Okay. Wow.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, I also have another tip. This is like kind of like a weird tip from my old teacher.
Okay.
Well, at my school, we usually take exams that are about 3 hours and a half. Yeah, so it's a long exam. And what he advised me was that we eat a banana shake with like Tylenol in them. And it will keep you like full and like calm throughout the whole exam. What do you have you heard about it before, Crooked? It's super weird, but yeah.
Can you say it again? A banana with
A banana shake.
Shake, right?
With Tylenol.
Tylenol. Okay, no.
So just crush like a pill of Tylenol and like sprinkle on your like banana shake.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what that does is what?
Well, he told me that the banana shake helps you like keeps you full throughout the exam, and the Tylenol keeps your temperature low. So like when you're like thinking about the exam, when you're working, your brain works really hard and it gets like hot.
Oh, it doesn't go overheat.
Yeah. So it doesn't go overheat. So it keeps your like temperature low.
Okay.
And so it keeps you like calm. You're not nervous in the exam.
Okay. Disclaimer.
Disclaimer.
That might not be like
The
science
best.
backed. Yeah, but it works for you. And for like many people, but it doesn't guarantee.
Yeah.
That, yeah.
Oh, and like
I think we need to say that. Okay.
Yeah, disclaimer.
Yeah.
Try it at your own safety.
All right.
But like the TOEFL and the IELTS exam are like really long, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So do you have any tips or any like anything that would help any students who would go into those kind of like tests or exams?
I think the general tips apply to all types of exams, right? I think, get a good night's rest before.
That's so important.
Yeah, because exams can,
Very.
like, if you're taking the exam early in the morning, your brain's not fully functioning. You don't want to go to sleep too late the night before. There's only so much revision you can do or preparation for the exam. So let's be honest, if you haven't the night before, if you still need, you're not gonna do particularly. You might not do that well in it. Okay, so I think it's probably better if you go into the exam as relaxed as possible. Have a good breakfast, assuming you eat breakfast.
So that's good, right? Because I heard like several like different things. Some would say you shouldn't like eat too much.
Not too much, right?
Yeah. Like not big breakfast. You just you should eat something, but not big breakfast, because you might have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
That's one. And also someone might be like sleepy. Like,
That's probably eating too much, though.
Yeah,
They feel sleepy, or they haven't slept very well.
So just try to be like healthy. Keep yourself healthy for the exam. So you be at least physically prepared, I think. Right?
Yeah, I think those are the things that you would do, maybe not particularly related to the exam, but I think in the exam is, I've seen this quite a lot with exam takers, that I think they come unprepared. And when I say unprepared, what I mean is, I don't think they've actually practiced, or they don't actually know what the exam format is. So it surprises me that, some people have spent all this money to take the exam, but they're a little bit underprepared, I think.
They're not cheap exams.
They're big
they're
money.
Not free.
It's
money
quite
'cause these things-
expensive.
So you need to study for the exam.
I mean, a
เคย
lot
ได้
too.
ยินมาว่าต่อให้คนที่เก่งภาษาอังกฤษมากๆต่อให้เป็น native I think you told me the story Crooked told us about like the native taking IELTS for example and they think they might be like get full score but that doesn't happen because they don't know how the test works right the structure and they don't even know what they're supposed to be doing on the test at all.
I mean, there's one thing to be able to speak fluently as for example, a native speaker, or proficient speaker. But if, like we were talking earlier, there's a set criteria that the speaking exam checks. So, for example, if you've been asked a question and you've not answered the question and you decide I want to talk about something else, that's going to affect your score. It might not affect it a lot, but it will affect it, because at the end of the day, I mean, the IELTS is quite fair in the sense that you're actually, we're kind of assessing the use of the language. But also, I think, one criteria, if you go off topic, then that will affect your score for sure. And I think if you don't know the structure, like you said, it's going to be difficult because, native speakers aren't, they're not trained to do tests, are they? So, they're just speaking naturally what they would speak in their everyday lives.
So I think that like doing a lot of like practice tests definitely helps, right? Does it?
Yeah, I think so. I think in any test, really. But I think one thing I would probably mention about language is, or taking language tests, you can't master a language a week before the exam.
Oh, yeah.
I think this is a misconception that a lot of well, I don't think students know, but I think because they're doing so many tests these days. I mean, maybe for other certain tests or subjects, you can maybe like work on the, say, I don't know, I'm stereotyping again. Maybe like you can work on a few problems, understand the formula a couple of weeks before. But I think with languages, you have to accumulate it over time. So, and it's not quite set in stone where, just because you know the grammar rule that you're going to be able to, it's going to come out exactly like that in the test. I think, language is flexible. That's why it's an art, So the longer you can prepare and practice for language tests, I mean, it's obviously going to be more beneficial for sure.
ได้ยินบางคนเขา take a test หลายครั้งมากๆกว่าจะได้คะแนนหรือว่าได้แบนด์ที่ต้องการใช่ไหมครับ and that's normal, right? Because I've heard of a lot of people taking tests multiple times before they actually get the scores or the band they want. Yeah, and that's like normal. You need to study and like do over until you get to your goal.
Definitely.
So don't expect to like ace it the first time you take the test.
Well, you can. I mean, if you prepared long enough, I guess. But I think it's difficult because like I said, it takes a long time to develop a language, to learn a language, for example. I just think about how many years does it take. For example, Thai to really master their own language, it takes a long time as well. They have to go through school, right? So if you're doing learning another language, and especially the challenge for students in Thailand is they don't have a lot of opportunities to use the language outside of the classroom, unless they're in an English-speaking environment like an English program or an international school, or maybe they're lucky to be able to go on a summer program or study abroad, then they're limited in that opportunity. So sure.
Yeah, in order to go have those opportunities, you might need to ace this test first because that's like basically a door or like a passport for you to be there in those kind of environments, right? Yeah. วันนี้รู้สึกว่ามันเป็นเรื่องที่ทำให้เราต้องกลับมาคิดนะครับว่าจริงๆแล้วเนี่ยอย่างสมมุติคำนี้ดีเราอาจจะพูดเรื่องการเรียนการสอนในห้องเรียนการสอบน้อยหน่อยแต่ไม่ได้แปลว่าเราไม่คิดว่านั่นเป็นสิ่งสำคัญนะมันก็สำคัญเหมือนกันนะครับแต่วันนี้สิ่งที่เราเรียนรู้อันหนึ่งก็คือการจะสอบให้ได้คะแนนอย่างที่เราต้องการมันก็ต้องการเตรียมตัวเหมือนกันนะครับเพราะฉะนั้นเราคิดว่าการเตรียมตัวเพื่อสอบก็เป็นวิธีหนึ่งในการพัฒนาภาษาอังกฤษใน in the process ได้ด้วยเช่นเดียวกันนะครับเพราะฉะนั้นเราไม่คิดว่าการสอบเป็นเรื่องที่ไร้สาระหรือว่ามัวแต่ไปอยู่กับตำราหรือในห้องสอบอยู่ได้ออกมาใช้ภาษาอังกฤษนอกห้องสอบสิ well that's not always the case for like everybody เหมือนกับที่ครูคิดบอกว่าไม่ใช่ทุกคนมีสิ่งแวดล้อมที่เอื้อต่อการใช้ภาษาอังกฤษนอกห้องเรียนตลอดเวลานะครับห้องเรียนก็เป็นสถานที่ที่ดีมากในการเรียนภาษาอังกฤษได้เหมือนกันถ้าเรายังมีความตั้งใจจะเรียนแล้วก็บวกกับการใช้ทูอื่นๆหรือว่าโอกาสอื่นๆที่10 ปีที่แล้วไม่มีอินเทอร์เน็ต YouTube หรืออะไรต่างๆแบบ all those in combination I think you can actually make a huge progress in your studying English. Any last words or last thoughts about how to ace your exam or like get good grades?
Any exams or specifically English?
Yeah, English. Yeah, your English exam.
Well, I think it's no different. Like I said, as I mentioned earlier, I think just remember that English or learning a language, it can't be done overnight. So, you do need to continuously practice. Even if you don't have the opportunity to speak, you can continue to read in English, you continue listening to programs or in English, getting your ears familiar with that. But reading's it's probably still the most effective way to learn a language. So, understanding, because you see all the language, the grammar, the vocabulary when you read as well. But obviously, I would say find something you want to read. Okay, don't go and read academic books or something or your textbooks. That's probably not going to keep your interest. So find something that you like. So if you like, a lot of students like to read about celebrities. So you might read that in Thai. So read it in English.
Yeah.
That's more likely to help you more. So,
or novels.
Yeah, sure. Novels in English.
Cartoons. Anything.
Yeah, but find something that you are interested in, because then that will help. It's more effective than just reading anything, Right? But obviously, if you want to read anything, then that's fine too.
Okay. วันนี้ขอบคุณมากๆสำหรับครูคิดนะครับมาแชร์เรื่องเกี่ยวกับการฝึกภาษาอังกฤษได้อีกแบบหนึ่งก็คือเพื่อไปได้ทำข้อสอบที่ดีแล้วก็ได้คะแนนที่ดีด้วยนะครับก็ถ้าสมมุติเกิดอยากจะฝากคำถามถึงครูคิดนะครับสามารถฝากได้ใน comment section ด้านล่างนี้นะครับหรือว่าไปโพสต์ถามไว้ที่กลุ่มของเราก็ได้ใน Facebook นะครับภาษาดีชีวิตดีโดยคำนี้ดีพอดแคสต์แล้วเดี๋ยวเราจะส่งต่อคำถามเหล่านั้นมาให้ครูคิดช่วยตอบให้แล้วก็อาจจะเชิญครูคิดกลับมาเยี่ยมเราอีกบ่อยๆมีคนที่อยากจะฟังแบบ British accent อยู่เรื่อยๆนะครับในรายการของเราซึ่งผมกับน้องจีไม่สามารถทำได้ครับเราต้องไปเชิญผู้ที่มีการออกเสียงหรือว่า accent เหล่านั้นจริงๆมานะครับวันนี้ thank you so much ครูคิด for dropping by
Thank you so much.
Thank you too.
I hope you come back sometime again in the future on our show.
Sure, love to.
The Standard Podcast, eye-opening for your ears.